So there's the problem. Uber is making 25% of their gross profit off of one trip, and I'm only making 12%. Should you use Uber for long trips? And the answer is different depending upon who you are. Let me go through the numbers and explain everything to you. Hi, my name is Levi, and this is the Daily Drive. Now, I'll give you the answer right up front here. If you are an Uber passenger, I think you should consider taking an Uber for a long trip. And I'll go through the numbers and explain it, and the reasons and everything else. If you are an Uber driver or Lyft or whatever, I don't think you should take these at all. And that's going to be the real problem. And let me explain that problem to you in detail and what's happening in the marketplace. So first, let's explain why potentially you as an Uber passenger may want to take long trips like this. And this particular trip, my passenger ordered an Uber to go from upstate New York to Pennsylvania, and they had purchased a car. So Uber, it was about a 3 hour trip, 170 some odd miles. And the shipping of the car from Pennsylvania to upstate New York would have been about $500. The price of the Uber was $350. So that math kind of works. And so this is a big problem throughout all of America. These getting from city to city on like that 1 to 4 hour range is most Americans just drive. But if you don't have a car, it's not like there's a lot of trains. There's very rarely any trains. You can probably catch a bus, but that's a pain in the butt sometimes. You might save some money, but you're on a bus and it's going to take a little bit of time. And so if you don't have a car, what options do you have? And I think there's another thing to consider about is like, even if you could fly, like, let me give you my scenario with my house here. I live about an hour away from the Syracuse airport. So let's say it takes about an hour to drive there. And then I get 1 hour at the airport, TSA, et cetera. So that's 2 hours. And I'm going to go to New York City. So it's about an hour long flight. So that's 3 hours. And then if I get to JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, if I want to get to Midtown Manhattan, it's another hour, give or take, depending on which way I go. So that's 4 hours. It's only about 4.5 hours for me to drive. Now, there's traffic problems sometimes, but to drive from my house to Midtown Manhattan. Now, parking's a challenge and tolls and some other things. But you're like, okay, well, let's say the price of the airline ticket's $200 or $150. Driving an Uber there or catching an Uber to Midtown Manhattan might be $500, give or take. I don't know. You're like, well, that's clearly you should fly. It's cheaper and you're going to get there about the same amount of time. But you're not counting in the Ubers and things like that that might transport you that way. Whereas if you have four people, let's say you order a car and it costs you $500 at four people, now it's better to catch an Uber than it is to fly. And I think Uber and Lyft they're starting to see this market. Another thing to consider that Uber and Lyft are probably forecasting is that the short trips around a city are going to be autonomous. And those are competitors, Waymo or Robotaxi. People are probably going to use autonomous cars for those short trips, but the long trips, Uber can compete with flights and buses and trains. So you can see how this is all playing out now. So if you're an Uber passenger, or not an Uber passenger, but if you are considering going from city to city, pick your cities, and it's an hour to 2 hours, 3 hours, and you don't have a car, Uber is a viable option. It's a good thing. So let me go through the numbers now, and I'm going to show you why an Uber driver shouldn't take this trip. All right. So again, the passenger paid $350. The tip was $75. Thank you so much. I super appreciate it. So they paid $429. There's that particular piece. Uber offered me $170 for this trip. Now, $170, you might go, that's not bad money. And a lot of Uber drivers kind of look at that way because you're like, $170, 6 hours, even if you add in an hour for charging, etc., because I have a Tesla, 7 hours worth of total time, it's like $23 an hour in revenue. That's not bad money. Um, but but I had 355 miles I put on the car that day. So that's 30 cents per mile is my cost, and that includes electricity, estimated maintenance, and estimated depreciation on my vehicle. So my costs were $106. My fair margin would have been only $65, meaning I made about $9 an hour off the base fare. If I didn't get a tip, $9 an hour, that's pretty bad. So as an Uber driver, right off the bat, I don't think you should be taking these because of that number. Now, again, thankfully, I got a $75 tip, and the total revenue was 247 for me. Total profit was 140, and even after that great tip, I still only earned $19 an hour, and only 4 out of 10 of my passengers tip. You're taking a big risk, please. So it was really good. So, okay, there's the math on that particular piece. Passengers should consider it, and there's some economic reasons why. Drivers shouldn't do it. And here's the big kicker. Uber made $113. Their profit was $113. So after the passenger paid the fare, all the taxes were paid, the tolls, paid my payment to me and everything, $113. That's a lot of money. That's 30, almost a full third of the what the passenger paid for the fare. That's a lot. Then on top of it, though, this is the real interesting thing. I worked about 40 hours that week. I did the passengers paid a little over 2,000 some odd dollars in fares and tips and things like that. Um, that $113 represented, I want to say, 25% of Uber's total $400 in profit, meaning that of all the rides that I did last week, that fare, that one fare, represented 25% of all of Uber's profit off of me that week. 25%. So again, all their expenses, commercial auto insurance, all that kind of stuff was paid for. Just yeah, so all that was paid for. Just really the profit was remaining for Uber. So if Uber was able to make 25% of their all their profit off that one trip, that trip represented only 20% even after the tip of my total revenue. And then after expenses, that trip only represented about 12% of my total profitability. So there's the problem. Uber is making 25% of their gross profit off of one trip, and I'm only making 12%. That's where the inequity is. And the math doesn't work out for drivers. So what happens? What happens? I think this is where the real interesting thing is for passengers. If you order the cheapest car, an Uber X car, to go, you and four of your friends to go from one city to a couple hours away to another city, and the math is working out for you, you may be very unlucky with what car shows up. You could get somebody in a broken down Prius that has been smoking all day and they haven't cleaned their car. And imagine sitting 2, 3 hours in some sort of smelly car crammed into a Toyota Prius. Because technically that's legit. It's three passengers, the car seats five. And I own a Prius. I'm not against a Prius, but why am I saying that? Well, who are the people that take these long trips? Because they're not very profitable. It's Uber drivers that need immediate cash. They're desperate. You know, it's really slow. They need to get some money in their account. And these are the type of drivers a lot of times that don't maintain their vehicles. Again, I'm stereotyping. And by the way, I don't blame these Uber drivers. I understand where they're coming from. But you as an Uber passenger, you could get really unlucky with what car shows up. Even more so, let's say you don't want to get in that car. You look at it and you're like, that car is a donut wheel, right? It's got a spare tire, as as one of the back left tire. I'm not getting into that car. Okay, so you cancel for safety reasons. Well, how long is it going to take for you to get another car? If you timed everything right, you're like, I'm going to make a reservation and I'm going to plan this whole thing out, and good luck. It's going to take a long time for another driver to take that ride because most Uber drivers are kind of like doing the math in their head and going, I'm not taking that trip. So Uber's going to have to go out there and farm this whole thing out, and it's going to take more time away from you. So, my advice to passengers is if you are going to do this and it is a viable option, upgrade yourself to at least an Uber Comfort. If you have four people, maybe you have to get Uber XL, and it's going to cost you more, maybe another $100, but at least you're going to ride in a vehicle that will fit you and you're going to be comfortable because who knows? And if Uber drivers, if you are desperate, like I was, I'll be honest with you, I was like, well, I'm not going to make $200 today. So I was able to make more than enough cash into my bank account and I can cover my expenses other ways I can think about and I can manage that personally. Um, I was thinking to myself, why would I take this trip? Well, obviously I make YouTube content, so there's interesting. I like to do this analysis, and that's a fun piece to it. But there's a couple other things that stood out to me with this trip that made me want to take it. Number one, the passenger's rating was 5 stars. So I was like, that potentially is tip worthy. The second thing that stood out to me was the way we were going. I was like, okay, we're going to a car dealership. A 5 star passenger from a decent neighborhood. It wasn't like super wealthy, but it wasn't, you know, whatever. I was like, okay, I could put those things together. And I was thinking the odds of me getting a tip were pretty high. That was really what it came down to. I took a gamble and a chance. It was I would the odds of me getting a tip were much greater than if it was a $5 trip around town. And I think there's this tip hierarchy in my book that I think I can get tips. The earlier the morning the trip, the trips to the airport, 5 star passengers, long trips, these are all things that kind of make me think I can earn a tip. So before this trip, I made sure my car was super clean. I wiped it all down. I made sure it was fully charged. I had, I don't, did I have bottled water this time? I don't know if I did, but I offered, many times to stop if the passenger wanted to get something. Yeah, I thought I could earn a tip and I did. Yeah, pretty interesting. And now the final thing to this, the best part about these trips to me are the stories. The stories. I think you just get a chance to potentially connect with an Uber passenger. Now there's risk. I could have got a passenger that talked my ear off. That's exhausting for umpteen hours. I could have got a passenger that slept the whole way, which is fine until they start to snore. And then that's pretty aggravating. Um, or a passenger that smelled. God, that's always the worst. But no, I just took a chance and it was a fantastic passenger and great stories. Again, she allowed me to share her story. She worked on the Mars rover project. I created a whole short video. You can watch it. I'll link it to this video here. But for me, it's just like, it was great. And in fact, we talked for the first 30, 40 minutes of the trip. I think we both got tired. So she put her podcast on and put her earbuds in, and that was it. And then I drove the rest of the way in peace, and it was totally worth it. The story was worth it to me. So that's a lot of mixed messages, right? So let me summarize everything to you. If you're an Uber passenger, yes, you should consider these 1 to 3 hour trips between cities. You should consider Uber, but I would make sure that you consider Uber Comfort. Now, again, there might be better ways to get between cities, but shop it around. Take a look at it. If you're an Uber driver, unless you desperately need the money, and if you think you can earn a tip, don't take these trips. Don't take them. Don't take them. And Uber, you don't have to make $113 on this trip. How about the person that did all the work on this trip? I know you connected two people. That's great. Hey, Uber, you don't have to make $113 on the trip. How about if you would offer that trip for $210? That would have been amazing for the driver. That would have been totally worth it. Now I would tell all the Uber drivers, maybe you should consider it, 220. And I'm throwing out some round numbers there, but just by doing that. And now I know Uber is an algorithm. I know Uber has found a way to look at my phone and offer me the exact price that they know I would take, and they know how to rip the passenger off. So Uber, get your cash now, but your days are numbered because soon AI is going to beat your algorithm. I hope it does. Uber, you're messing this whole thing up. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So that's my Uber gripe for the podcast. Hey, real quickly, I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of the podcast listeners. Scoop, you gave me the lowdown on Waymo. I thought Waymo would be a clean car. I don't know why, but according to your intel, Waymos are really dirty, and I know for sure people are doing they're doing nefarious things in the backseat of those Waymos. So good call. And Steve over at the Rideshare Rodeo. Hey, yes, what do I use for editing? I use Descript. Descript is the software that I use. I've used a lot of different softwares. Premiere, I like DaVinci Resolve. They're all really good, but Descript is the easiest software to use. And so you're more than welcome to check it out. I should have a link here in the video. Hey, if you're an Uber driver, I want you to be safe, healthy, and happy. I want you to know that I am cheering for you. Be well. Bye.